hopefully we get some attendees in soon. And then it seems like we are recording already. Perfect. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I think we'll probably wait a few minutes after 3 p.m. just for everybody to kind of trickle in, and then we can go ahead and get started. I think we'll probably wait like another minute or so for more people to join, and if people join late, that'll be okay. I think we'll probably just go ahead and get started. This video will be recorded, so hopefully people who are not able to make it today will be able to kind of just check the recording for the information that we presented. But yeah, I really wanted to welcome everyone to today's presentation. We're so excited that you're here. Today, Internexxus is presenting this live workshop on AI hacks for job hunting, and it will be presented by me, I'm Kelly, and Matt Lisk, who is our head of sales here at Internexxus. So I just wanted to start off by introducing myself to everybody. So again, my name is Kelly. I work on product strategy here at Internexxus. I recently graduated from UC Berkeley, where I studied computer science and data science. I also have background in product design and business engineering, which is kind of where my career interests lie. And we can talk a little bit more about that as the presentation continues. And just to kind of give everyone a heads up for where today's agenda is heading, we're going to be going over how to leverage AI tools to one, optimize your professional profile, two, find relevant job opportunities, three, network effectively online, and four, prepare for interviews. And if you stay to the very end, we'll get you the link and the package for the recording of this session, the AI prompts that we're going to be using, as well as templates for getting your job search started. Yeah, and then before we get started into any of those topics, I really want to keep these three things in mind for everybody. So the first thing being is that AI is an enhancing tool, not a shortcut. So it'll only be as good as the effort that you put into it. The second thing that we want to keep in mind is that clearly defining your career goals from the start is key because it really drives the way that you're going to be using these AI tools and what they're going to be used for. And then the third thing is that proactivity brings success. So again, putting in the effort yourself to kind of go out there and use these AI tools and drive your own opportunities and strategy is really what is going to be key. So I think the first topic that we'll start off with is optimizing your LinkedIn profile with AI. And then I want to go over quickly the importance of having a good LinkedIn profile. So some statistics that we found were that every week, 45 million people use LinkedIn to search for jobs, and 200 plus million job applications are submitted every month on LinkedIn, which kind of really goes to show the importance of having a good profile. Other things that LinkedIn supports is you can view a vast amount of internship listings. You're able to engage with recruiters online because that's kind of where they go out and network and find new connections. You're also able to kind of add to your own professional networking. So seeking out connections yourself in certain industries and certain roles that you can kind of connect with them about future opportunities. You're able to research on companies who have their profiles hosted on LinkedIn. You're also able to have skills endorsements and recommendations on your own profile from other people who can kind of attest to the depth of your skills and how proficient you are at them. And then the last thing is that it's really important for personal branding. So the ability for you to kind of curate your profile and be able to show that to employers is pretty important. So the first thing I want to show everybody is this LinkedIn profile optimizer that Internexxus has put out. So I am going to quickly demonstrate for you this tool that we have and then how you're able to use it. So for everyone on Google Chrome, hopefully you should be able to access this plugin via the Google Chrome extension store. And then yeah, the LinkedIn profile optimizer. I'm going to send a link in the chat for everybody to be able to access it. So this is the link to the tool that we have on Google Chrome. What you want to do once you click on the link is it should take you to a page like this. The blue button here, instead of removing from Chrome, should have something along the lines of add to Chrome. So we first want you to download that extension to your Chrome. I think I have a question in the chat. I think, is it okay if we put questions in the chat instead of maybe allowing us to talk? So if anyone has questions, maybe they can post it in the chat and then I can hopefully answer it live. Oh, okay. I see something from the Q&A. Oh, can I share the link again? Yeah, of course. It should be, I'm going to answer that in the Q&A. Please let me know if that link has ended up working. If not, I can definitely send it again. But yeah, once you have that open, again, click the button to add it to your Chrome browser. I'm going to move on. If there are still any problems with this, please stop me again via the Q&A or in the chat and let me know. Matt will also be letting me know if there's any other questions that arise. Perfect. Okay, perfect. Okay, so once you've added this to your Chrome, at the toolbar at the very top, you should see this icon that looks kind of like a puzzle piece. What you want to do is you want to hit the pin button here next to LinkedIn Profile Optimizer, and it'll just add it to the rest of your tools so that it's easily accessible. So once it's there, you can just click on it, and it should open this little drop down with Internexxus, and it says, "Welcome to the LinkedIn Profile Optimizer." If you click the button for start optimizing, it should open your LinkedIn profile, but this requires you to have been logged in on LinkedIn already. So if not, it'll just take you to the LinkedIn login page. Hopefully you log in briefly, and then it should take you to your profile. Maybe I'll pause for a second while everybody does that, and then we can go back to the plugin. Hopefully once everyone is on their profile, you click the plugin again at the top, and it should open the same page. If you hit start optimizing this time, it should actually open the tool instead of taking you to your LinkedIn profile again because you're already there. So once you hit start on the tool, the first question it's going to ask you is targeted job title. So it's asking what role you're applying for because this AI tool actually takes into account what roles you want to pursue in the future, and then it'll give you recommendations that are based on that kind of role and industry. I see another question in the chat. Your screen is not entirely visible. Oh, I don't see the pin. Let's see. I think that could be a problem with the way that I'm sharing my screen. Let's see. If I shared to desktop instead, maybe you should see it. So I think here would probably be better. So yeah, it'll be, if you clicked on the puzzle piece, it should give you a drop down of the extensions. And then the pin would be right next to the tool right here. Okay. I'm going to keep moving on. If there are any more problems with that, please again let me know in the chat. But again, once we're back on the tool, so when it asks you what job you're applying for, let's say we're interested in a software engineering opportunity. I'm going to type that in and then hit continue. And then what the tool is going to do right now is it's going to take a screenshot or kind of encapsulate what your profile looks like before we make any changes, just to see like what currently exists and then where improvements could be made. So once you hit analyze profile, it should take a moment just for the AI to kind of gather all of this data and understand where those improvements could be made. So it's just taking a minute. Yep, perfect. So now we have recommendations back from the AI on where I could improve my LinkedIn profile. And you'll see that it's actually grouped into a few different sections. The first section is things that I should probably take immediate action on because they're kind of glaring problems in my profile that might impact my opportunity to have a good standing. So that's, for example, the open to work section could be a little bit better. So the current problem that the AI sees is that the open to work section may not clearly indicate specific job preferences. And what they recommend is to specify the exact software engineering roles that you're interested in. So you'll see here that, again, the AI is right that I'm kind of just generically interested in software engineers. So maybe if I was into like front-end engineering or back-end engineering, I could include that in my open to work section. The other recommendations it comes up with are recommended changes. So these are things that are not absolutely an issue, but might be nice to have just to kind of boost your profile a little bit. So for example, in the headline, it says that my headline could be a little bit more focused on software engineering, which is true because I think all that I write is that I was a CS student at Berkeley and that I had PM experience. So that's not really tailored to software engineering. And then the last section of recommendations it gives you is a completed section. So it's actually notes on what your profile is doing well and what you should probably keep. So it says here that my education section is actually nicely done because it's well detailed with the degree and university that I went to. Even though it is nicely done, it still has recommendations for adding the relevant coursework or projects that align with software engineering. So you'll see that based on your profile and what you might be looking for in a career opportunity, you might get different results, but this is just how you would use the tool. And then if you wanted to make those changes, you could always rerun the plugin and it'll just recapture your profile with the new changes and then see if there are other recommendations to be made. But I'll pause here for any questions about the tool before I move on to the next part of our demonstration. Okay, I don't think I see any questions so far. So I think I'll move on back to the next part of our demonstration. So I'll share my screen again. Okay. So now that we've moved on, I'm going to talk next about finding relevant opportunities with AI-powered platforms. So now that your LinkedIn profile is ready, we can get started with opportunities that match your interests, your skills, education, and work experience. And this is kind of where Internexxus can come in and help. So just a little bit of background on what Internexxus does is that we're actually a recruiting tool that tailors to both recruiters and candidates like yourself. And we're able to kind of help match you with opportunities that employers are putting out based on what your specific interests are using an algorithm. I'm going to do a quick demonstration of the main thing that we offer on our platform, which is our matching tool. So let me show that really quickly. So on Internexxus, so our domain is internexxus.com. I'm going to show you a little bit of the sign up process of our platform. So after you've kind of signed up and included all of your personal details and a little bit of information on your background, we have this thing called a career interest form, which is when you fill it out, you'll tell them information such as like the industry you're interested in, what skills you have, where you're located, and what kind of jobs you're looking for, and it should match you with opportunities using AI. So for me, let's say that I'm looking for opportunities in maybe business or market research. I'm going to put that in. Let's say I'm also looking for opportunities in digital marketing, right? And then the skills that I really want to work on in my future career, maybe it's things like marketing strategy. Let's see. Business marketing, campaign marketing, let's say that. And then let's say I'm looking for hybrid jobs and I want them to be based in San Francisco, California. And then let's say I'm looking for internships as well as entry-level internships, and I want a full-time or part-time role. So once I fill that out, I'm going to hit explore opportunities, and it's going to take a moment for the AI to kind of work and match you with opportunities that kind of fit all of the information that I've included here. Okay. So it says that no relevant opportunities found based on my work experience, which should be expected because my existing experience is actually more in engineering and product and not really in marketing. But despite that, there are other good matches that even if it doesn't match my personal background, it still matches my interests in the future. So if I'm someone that's looking to kind of pivot career paths, this is something that's really helpful that it takes existing skills that you have and then tries to see how that could be a match for a complete pivot into a different industry. So you'll see here that I might be a good match for internships at Morgan Stanley or US Supply Chain Solutions, a lot of these different opportunities that are kind of a match to what I might be interested in the future. And then Internexxus just allows you to submit the applications on our platform and we'll send it to the employers if you're a good match. So that is the tool that I was going to show you. I'm going to check the Q&A one more time because it seems like there's questions. I got a message which says the location is not good for AI or ML engineer. I have put my location as San Jose, which is in the heart of the Bay Area. How can that not be a good location to search for AI and ML jobs? I think it'll just have to do with the number of opportunities that are posted. A lot of times it just depends on what companies are kind of tagging their locations with. So it might not have put San Jose, but it could be tagged to like broader Bay Area or San Francisco. That might be one reason why you're not getting a lot of San Jose specific opportunities. But yeah, great question. I think if there are no other questions, I'll probably move on then. So now we're going to talk about mastering your LinkedIn outreach with AI. So I think one thing that is really important about mastering LinkedIn outreach is you can leverage AI to personalize your connection notes. So I think a lot of times when we struggle with writing connection notes for people on LinkedIn, we struggle with what we should talk about, how to kind of get that first step in the door when talking to people. So I think AI can really come in handy there. Another tip that we'll give you is that when you're looking for people to reach out to on LinkedIn, we find that people in startups, people who are alumni of your school, people who are HR managers or university recruiters tend to be the ones that are the most responsive to this demographic because they're the ones that are actively looking on LinkedIn. So we recommend reaching out to those kinds of profiles. Another piece of advice we'll give you is that you should probably keep following up with your messages, just because I think the first few times that you send a connection request, it could get lost in, their inbox. maybe people just kind of miss and forget to reply. I think if you show that you're proactive in your outreach and you're definitely interested and you keep following up, that is a good sign to them that you are genuine about your want to connect with them. And then the last thing with LinkedIn outreach is that once you get your step in the door and you get those conversations going, it's important to keep in mind that having a good resume to show them once you have that connection is something that is the next step in a meaningful opportunity. So I'm going to show you how we could use AI to figure out ways to connect with people on LinkedIn and write those personalized connection notes. So an example prompt that I'll give you is this one here. It is create a LinkedIn outreach sequence to help me find a, let's say, software engineering. Oh, sorry. So find a full-time role or a position as a software engineer. Okay. Oops, sorry. Technical difficulty. Sorry. I'm just gonna delete this. And then we'll tell the AI that the sequence should include the first connection request that is within 280 characters, just because most people on LinkedIn, when they're under a free plan, they're kind of limited to the message that you're able to send someone that you're not connected with. So we'll tell the AI to come up with the connection request, which is a personalized message to establish initial contact. We'll also ask it to come up with the first follow-up, which is sent after the connection request is accepted and is focused on expressing interest in the role and learning more. And then tell them about a second follow-up, which is a polite reminder to build rapport and reiterate the interest in discussing the role. The third follow-up message should be a value-driven message offering insights or assistance to keep the conversation active. And the fourth follow-up is a final check-in to maintain professionalism and restate enthusiasm for the opportunity. And we're telling the AI that each message should feel genuine, professional, and tailored to the recipient. So once we sent that prompt, you'll see that it comes back with each of the messages that I requested. So in the example of connection request, it says, hi, whoever you're sending this to, I admire your work at this company and wanted to connect. I'm a software engineer passionate about, let's say you're interested in developing scalable applications or gaming, and I'd love to learn more about your experience at the certain company. And you'll see that it actually gives you all of the messages that you would need to send to an employer after that initial connection. And then it says, let me know if you'd like further refinement or adjustments to align the sequence more closely with your personal style. So if you think that you want a less not professional, but less formal, more casual, fun take on it, you could tell the AI that you want to do that with your messages so that it doesn't just feel like it is entirely disingenuous to your personality. But that was how we could leverage AI to come up with those LinkedIn requests. I'm going to pause here for any questions while we move back to our presentation. Okay. If there are no questions, I think I will just move back. Okay. So now that you've actually established those connections and you kind of have your foot in the door with employers, I can tell you a little bit about how Internexxus can kind of do the hard part of networking for you. One thing is that a lot of people might be a little bit timid in terms of reaching out to people outside of their network because it is a little daunting having to find so many people and kind of put yourself out there, and you might feel a little bit awkward having to bombard everyone with emails. So if that sounds like you, I think Internexxus has got that handled for you, because one thing that we do offer on our platform is employer matching. So for our employers who post their opportunities on our website, every time they post an opportunity, they'll actually get a list of users on our platform in our database who match that opportunity. So let's say they're posting a new graduate software engineering role for skills in like Java or React. We'll actually match them with people on our platform who are looking for those new graduate software engineering roles who have those skills. And then they'll do the reaching out for you. So it'll be more employer driven, and you won't have to worry about having to put yourself out there yourself in terms of going on LinkedIn. The other thing we'll do for you is giving you the proper tools to kind of tailor your resume once those connections are established. So obviously the first part in establishing a connection for your network is talking to people about your interests, but after that, they might ask you for a resume to kind of keep you in mind in case an opportunity arises in the future. And when that happens, obviously you want to give them a nice resume that is tailored and is best descriptive of yourself. We offer resume tools such as ATS compatibility, as well as AI using AI to optimize your resumes. So those are just things that we offer, and we'd love for you to check it out after this webinar. And then the last thing that I'll talk about for today is preparing for interviews with AI tools. So when you're preparing for interviews, the first step is to gather all of the necessary information. So before you even think about going into a mock interview, you really want to clarify either through the job description you're applying for or with your recruiter what the type of interview you're preparing for is. So is it technical? Is it behavioral? Is it case-based or role-specific? You also want to clarify what role you're preparing for and then the skills and competencies that you want to practice. So do you want to practice more problem solving? Do you want to practice more coding or situational judgment? And then once you've gathered all that information, the second step is to prepare the role and scenario. So you want to provide ChatGPT with the detailed context about the role. So you'll share all this information you gathered pertaining to the job title, the responsibilities, and the required skills. And then you can also set a little backdrop about the industry or company specifics. And then if you're preparing for a behavioral interview, you can also list common situations that you'd like to practice. So for example, if you're having trouble answering teamwork questions or conflict resolution questions, you can ask ChatGPT to give you more of those. Once you've kind of understood the questions that you're going to be preparing for a mock interview, then you actually kind of want to start it. So you would set the stage with ChatGPT to play the role of the interviewer. So you begin with your professional greeting and an overview of the interview format, and then you ask ChatGPT to alternate between open-ended and specific questions. So once you get that mock interview started, you want to practice responding like it was a real interview. So you want to answer questions thoughtfully and provide structured responses. The most common method that a lot of recruiters recommend for you is the STAR method. So it's explaining the situation behind what you're explaining, and then explaining what the task at hand was, the action you took, and then the result of your actions. And you want to be specific in your examples and avoid giving generic answers. After you've done your mock interview with ChatGPT, it's important to request feedback from it. So you can ask ChatGPT to evaluate your responses and then specify the areas for feedback. So for example, if you're worried that you're not being clear enough in your responses, you can ask for clarity, for conciseness, or technical accuracy, just depending on what you think you're worried about and want to work on the most. And you can explicitly prompt ChatGPT to highlight the strengths and suggest improvements based on your performance. After that, once you've gotten all your feedback and you understood where you could kind of improve, you can let ChatGPT dig deeper into your responses to stimulate a real interview. So you can enable dynamic interaction by asking for clarifications or additional questions. And then for technical interviews, you can actually ask ChatGPT to probe further or provide live coding tasks if that's relevant to what you're applying for. The next steps are to review and reflect. So you can ask ChatGPT for a summary of your performance, and then you can request those key takeaways or areas to focus on for improvement, and then save the transcript of your responses to analyze later. Another thing about ChatGPT is that you can actually customize it for specific roles. So for any highly specific roles, you can provide domain-related context. So for example, if you're applying to a technical role, you can ask ChatGPT to include coding problems or whiteboard challenges. Or for managerial roles, you can include situational or leadership challenges. And then the last few things we want you to take away from this is that you should probably repeat the process of mock interviews regularly because we think that consistency is key to improvement. So you should probably schedule periodic sessions focusing on different interview areas and then rotate between behavioral, technical, and situational mock interviews, just because most companies for roles, they actually will put you through different rounds of interviews that all touch on all of these topic areas. The last takeaway is that you can use ChatGPT's advanced features to provide insights about industry trends for role-specific discussions, and then simulate stress interviews by challenging your decisions or probing into ambiguous answers. So I'm going to actually demonstrate for you now how we could get that mock interview started with ChatGPT. So I'm going to go back to my chat really quickly. So for this first prompt we want to send them is prepare the role and the scenario. So we're going to tell ChatGPT, pretend you're an interviewer for, let's say, a product designer at a big tech company. Ask me a mix of technical and behavioral questions related to, let's say, prototyping, design, design philosophy, and teamwork. Let's say that these are the things that you found were the most important in the job description. So we'll ask ChatGPT that, And then they'll actually provide you a big list of questions that are probably really common to ask product designers. So we'll have technical questions surrounding prototyping, design systems, user testing, some behavioral questions, and then lastly, scenario-based questions. And then the thing you want to do now after you've gotten this humongous list from ChatGPT is we should probably go through each of them and understand generically how you would answer these questions. And then once you've kind of come into once those responses come into mind, and you feel confident answering those, we'll actually then begin the process of simulating the mock interview. So for the mock interview, your recruiter conducting a mock interview for a product designer role. Start with an introduction and ask behavioral questions like, tell me about a time you handled a design crisis. Then follow up with scenario-based questions, one question at a time to ask me to respond, and then post when I answer it and ask another question. Post when I answer and ask another question. So here's the process of actually beginning the mock interview. So it'll give you introductions, kind of like the person interviewing you might. And then the first question they'll ask me is, tell me about a time you handled a design crisis. What was the situation? How did you approach it? And what was the outcome? So let's say we give a response such as, we'll start with the situation. So before a big product launch, we found a major design flaw in our application. My task was to address the issue as it was unusable for users. I took action to meet with users to identify the problem and fix the design as necessary. This helped us, This helped us launch our product on time success. So you'll see that it's a little bit generic, but I made it generic on purpose so that you can see what kind of feedback ChatGPT might give. So it'll say, thank you for sharing that experience, and then kind of tell you something based on your response. And then it'll ask a follow-up question. So when you were managing that design flaw, how did you prioritize tasks and collaborate with your team to ensure the fix was implemented before the launch of the line? So you can keep going back and forth like this, depending on how comfortable you feel in your mock interview. But once you're able to end it, let's just end the mock interview here. And then we'll say, based on my response, provide feedback on how I could improve my communication or provide more impactful examples. So then you'll see that it's responding. So it's saying that the strengths in my response was that I demonstrate proactivity and my response was results oriented, which is pretty good. But where I could improve was including more details and specificity, mentioning how I collaborated with the team, and then more specific metrics on the impact of my work. And then it'll actually give you a revised response that is really similar to what you said, but improved with all of these suggestions that they made for you. So once you requested the feedback, you can actually then ask ChatGPT one more time to summarize my strengths and weaknesses from the mock interview. Ideally, you would have asked more questions so that it would have more data to draw from. But what it says my strengths were proactive problem solving, having user-centric approach, and outcome-oriented thinking. But where my weaknesses were was that I lacked specificity, I lacked when I talked about team collaboration, and what the quantifiable impact of my work was. So I think that's pretty helpful feedback that you could use in the future. And if you wanted to ask more specific questions that are not just behavioral, let's say you wanted to do a case interview for a product designer role, present a problem where I would need to prioritize feature development. So this is a little bit different from a behavioral interview. And this is more like when companies give you a take-home case assignment to work on. So this is the example that it's given with the scenario and the task that they expect you to do. You can probably do the task yourself and then send it back to ChatGPT for more feedback in the future. But yeah, that's how you would be able to use AI to help you with your mock interview process. I'll pause here for any questions before we move on to the next part of the demonstration. If there are no questions, then I'm going to move on. So now I'm going to move on to our question and answer. Oh, sorry, I do see a question here. I saw a hand raised. If you actually did have a question, maybe put it in the Q&A, but it's good that we're actually getting into the Q&A section, so maybe there's more time to actually answer them specifically. So I'm going to turn it over now to our head of sales, Matt. I'm just going to introduce Matt really quickly. So he is our in-house AI enthusiast. He graduated from Penn State in 1995 and majored in management information systems. He has over 20 years of experience in education and educational technology, and he was the former head of the SAT program at the College Board. So we're really lucky to have him here answering our questions today. Maybe if you have any questions, either put them in the chat or use like the question and answer tool that is on Zoom. But I'll hand it over to Matt.
Great, thanks, Kelly, and thanks for taking us through that. I would say to the folks here, as you transition from your academic environment into a professional environment, tools like Internexxus, ChatGPT are going to be invaluable for you. We just barely scratched the surface on LinkedIn and its presence in the market. But if you're seriously pursuing internships, entry-level jobs, LinkedIn is a place where you do need to be. But it can be overwhelming, to be quite honest with you, which is why we're building Internexxus. Internexxus is really going to be focused on sort of getting you through the traffic on LinkedIn, where there's so many job opportunities and they're looking for people like me with 20 years of experience, whereas you're just now getting started. And sometimes it is hard to find the right opportunities on a platform like LinkedIn or Monster or Indeed or any of the other job listing sites. Even from personal experience, a targeted experience like Internexxus that's specifically looking for those internships and entry-level positions are going to be key for you to take advantage of. The great part is we've got all these tools that are already built into the website. We're going to continue to develop additional tools, like a mock interview tool would be something that we're looking to integrate into our platform. We're relatively new and we're continuing to grow, and we're adding new companies on the regular basis. So you'll start to see, if you're a regular user of our platform, you'll start to see more and more of those opportunities popping up. I do see a question here in the queue. We are going to share a link to the prompts after the meeting. You'll get an email follow-up, Kelly. Is that how that's going to work? They're going to fill in a form at the end with their email address. Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, cool. So you'll fill out a form. At the end, it'll give you a link to the prompts as well as a recording of this session. So if you have friends or colleagues who couldn't make it today and you think this information is valuable for them, we'll make that available to you to distribute. But I will say, I continue to use AI. I think folks just see the older generation. They're like, oh, they're not going to adapt to this new technology. But no, we use AI pretty regularly, not just to help think through some issues, but honestly, I use it to help refine presentations, for example, where I put together what I think are some pretty great slides to convey information, but then I get feedback from ChatGPT to say, hey, is there a better way to say this? Or I'm looking for more information on this particular topic to help fill in one of my presentations. Or I've actually used it to optimize my resume, which is great. And so you should continue to take advantage of those. Again, you can't just take the answer wholesale, right? That's really part of the important lesson of using AI for these tasks is you should review what comes back. If it doesn't make sense for your scenario, ask another question or tailor it and modify it to your own personal needs, but don't be afraid of it. I think in academic settings, people generally have this opinion of AI and like, oh, that's cheating, that's a shortcut. No, it's actually, it's way more powerful than people are giving it credit for. I actually use it as my everyday search engine because I find at times when I go to Google, I'm not getting the right information, or I'm not getting links to the right spots, or I don't feel like clicking on 15 different links. If I go to ChatGPT, for example, I can get information, and then it links all the sources. So if I want to go dive deeper into a particular area, then I can click there. But I'm probably telling you things you already know, but we're trying to help connect the dots for you because, I think I've got two sons. One's a sophomore at ASU, the other one's a junior in high school. So they're in the sweet spot in terms of the users of the Internexxus platform and AI and all those kinds of things. So they come to me on a regular basis to try and figure out how to navigate this scenario. And I think where they get most frustrated, and you all probably do too, is you know a teenager trying to find a job that's relevant to something that they're interested in is really hard, and then they end up working at a Subway shop or at a supermarket or wherever because they can't, there's not a platform for them to go to easily and find those opportunities that are relevant to what they want to do. And so that's where our passion lies at Internexus, is really finding those opportunities for people who are just now starting out thinking about getting a job that might be relevant to the things that they study. So if you're a aviation freak and you have, um, flight monitors and all kinds of things on your computer and you flight simulators, and you're really interested in that, it's really hard to find a job as a 17 or 18-year-old or an internship that would give you an opportunity in that industry. And so that's why we want to tailor the experience of Internexus to get you to those places, introduce you to those companies, and give you that opportunity to really explore. There's some other great tools that are out there as well. If you don't know about certain industries, so Big Future from the College Board is one. Um, there's several others that are out there. Road Trip Nation, if any of you have ever seen them, they have a big green RV that drives around the country and they interview different professionals and they ask them how they got to where they are. So, there are other ways to explore sort of the industries, the jobs, and the positions, the positions that are available at a given company. You may not think of a company as a tech company. But if they're doing business in the modern age, there's a huge tech infrastructure that sits behind them, whether they're in ed tech or even in regular education. A company like the College Board has just shifted to all digital testing. And so, they need software engineers, they need all kinds of IT infrastructure folks to ensure that they can administer those exams on platforms around the globe. So just give yourself the opportunity to research a company. The worst thing you can do as you start to interview these things is not knowing enough about that company. You don't have to be a certified expert, but you do need to do some background because the company will have that expectation of you that says, hey, you're applying here, you're saying you're interested in working with us. What do you know about us? And you have to do that due diligence ahead of time. And again, a tool like ChatGPT can help you do that, right? So you can come to Internexus, you can see those job listings, and you can say, I'd love to know more about Honeywell or Boeing or some of these other companies that are appearing on my list. What can I go find out about them? So that's why we're here today. I've been chatting, so I was hoping it would trigger some more questions, but we'll wait a couple of minutes if anybody wants to type in something to ask. But if not, we will wrap this up. We'll give you the link to the form so you can get more information, and we'll send you on your way. Any other questions? Don't be shy. You just can't ask me questions about the SAT. I don't have the answers. Whenever I tell people that I used to work with the SAT, I always get that. Can you get the answers? Um, but these days, I think post-COVID, exams like SAT and ACT are changing in terms of relevance. I think there are more opportunities for kids for pathways beyond high school that don't require a college entrance exam. So the world is changing rapidly, and I think for you guys to be on the forefront of that, doing the homework, learning about tools like Internexus, taking advantage of AI, your job search will be infinitely easier than the old generation like me who had to we used to have to go to the library and read newspapers and all those kinds of things to find out about companies. And now everything's at your fingertips. So great change as I've progressed through my career. All right, Kelly, I don't think we're going to get any more questions.
Okay. No worries. Thank you for that, Matt.
Thanks.
But yeah, I think that would conclude our webinar then. I really wanted to thank everybody for coming today. We'd actually love to hear your feedback about this event, as well as understand what you might want out of future events that Internexxus will put on. So the link on the screen here, I'll also send in the chat really quickly. But it's going to be a feedback form that it'll take you to. And you should be able to enter your email and then also give your feedback for today's webinar. After you fill this out, we'll actually use that email in the form to send you a recording of this session, the AI prompts that we use, as well as the LinkedIn connection and follow-up templates that we've made for you guys. So that'll be in the form. We also wanted to talk to people about university partnerships. So for those who are attending universities right now, we're actually thinking about launching an ambassadors program with Internexxus. So if you would like to be our ambassador on your college campus and kind of get the word out there about Internexxus and help us onboard new users, we'd love to work with you. And that'll also be an option for you to kind of talk about on the form. And then if you're interested and want a more specific follow-up, please also email us about that. But if you indicate your interest on the form, we'll also know from there. But yeah, we'll stay around for a few minutes just to get any questions, other thoughts before we conclude the webinar. Hopefully the link is working for everybody. Right. I think doesn't seem like there are any further questions. Again, this feedback form and follow-up link is going to be in the chat, and that is where you'll be getting all of the information about accessing our resources through email once again. That should be coming through in a few hours. It just takes us time for us to process the recording, but once that is all done, it should be arriving in your inboxes very shortly, just in a few hours. I think if that is all. I think I will conclude the webinar now. Thank you everyone so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.